Morning Drive, brought to you by Golf Pride.
Welcome into this weekend edition of Morning Drive. I am Gary Williams, and of course with the postponement of the 2020 Masters, we don't have the tournament to focus on, analyze, but we are trying our best to celebrate the Masters all week, and we've been doing it, and we will continue to do so through the weekend. And with that, very pleased to be joined on the phone by the 1998 Masters champion, a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, Marco Meara. And Mark, it's good to hear your voice, but I have to ask you, how is it coping without a Masters, and for you a return annually as it has been for more than 2 decades to a Champions Dinner and being at Augusta National that first full week in April?
Yeah, Gary, it's good to be on with you. I would say that it's very difficult. These are some very trying times right now with what kind of set upon our country and around the world with this coronavirus has taken us basically for a loop. And we always look forward to April coming along and the Masters tournament, and certainly I do too. And, you know, it kind of kicks off our major season, and then unfortunately that's all been put on hold. I mean, all of sports around the world basically has been put on hold, and I've never seen anything like this before. So it's a difficult time, but, you know, the health and well-being of people certainly outweighs any sporting event.
You know, Mark, all the leading organizations, as you know, and the governing bodies in the game of golf came together over the last week to release the revised schedule for the major championships, of which there are now just 3. The Open Championship has been canceled for this year. They'll go to Royal St. George's, another major championship that you were a past champion, not to mention the Players was canceled on that Thursday evening on March 12th. And so we look at what we think we are going to have in front of us when they do resume play, and that includes the Masters being in the middle of November. When I say November 15th for a championship Sunday at Augusta National, how intriguing is that to you?
Well, it's going to be unusual. I mean, it's never happened before. But in saying that, Gary, you know, Augusta National, the Masters tournament, you know, in November, it can be nice. I mean, very nice. So I know that the club and the membership and the tournament committee there at Augusta National will do everything in their possibility to make that a special event, make sure that the players and the patrons and obviously everybody's safe. But I think it might turn out great, and I think you got to keep a positive attitude that it will.
You know, Mark, you set a record when you won a couple different things. Obviously, the birdies on 17 and 18, but also you had 15 prior starts before you won that Masters. No one had done that before. If I said to you the thing that was the most important factor, your putter was really, really good that week, would you start there as to why you were able to cross the line in 98?
I would say that's absolutely the reason why. I'm a big believer that it does take some experience around Augusta National. Certainly power in the game of golf has become a huge asset, but I don't care how far you hit the ball or, you know, what you're hitting to those greens. If you don't putt well at Augusta National that week, you're not going to win the tournament. I just find it hard to believe. And fortunately for me, even though I didn't feel good over my putter that week, I won and made some key putts, as you pointed out, Gary, coming down the stretch. But when I look back at the stats at the end of the week in 98, when I was fortunate to have the green jacket put on myself by Tiger, I had the fewest amount of putts in the field that week.
You did. I think it was 102 in total. Now, I have to ask you in particular, that year, of course, you know, we've celebrated this week 86, but 1998, Jack was 58. He chipped in on 3, and when you and Freddie were playing 3, I believe, he was making birdie on 7. How cognizant were you that he, Jack Nicklaus at 58, was within 2 of the lead at that moment?
I was very aware of it. I mean, the place was on fire. It was erupting everywhere. And look, we know after all those years of having the opportunity to play with Mr. Nicklaus, to be around him, that those were Nicklaus roars on that Sunday afternoon. So there is so much excitement and buzz and fire, but there was even a little bit more that Sunday afternoon in 98 because of what, you know, Jack Nicklaus was doing on the front nine.
Well, speaking of Jack, Highlights of that 1986 Masters can be seen today on Golf Channel at 1:30 as we continue to celebrate the Masters. In addition, you can see highlights of Nick Faldo's 1990 Masters win, his back-to-back. He won in '89 in that playoff, won again in another playoff in 1990, plus the best lessons ever as well, featuring Masters champions, and you can celebrate all the Masters at 6 p.m. And then, of course, live from the 2019 Masters will be at 7 Eastern. I have to ask you about last year, Mark. Now, look, you have said very clearly and repeatedly about the motivation that you got playing all those rounds and all that practice time with Tiger, 97, 98. He won in 97. You just alluded to that. What stands out about what he did last year?
Well, it's one of the great things in sports. I really believe that. And I've always been a huge Tiger fan, but I also understand the man. I'm not around him as much over the last 10 years, but I do know this, Gary, that when I was around Tiger and spending time with him and playing and practicing, if I ever wanted Tiger Woods to do something, all I would have to do is tell him, no, you can't do that. No, don't go over there. Those are the motivating factors that set this guy apart from everybody else. So I guess what I'm saying is I think when people count him out, that's usually when he's going to do something special. And we were certainly witnesses of that last year at Augusta National. And I remember after the dinner on Tuesday night, sitting next to him, I came home and I told my wife Meredith, I said, you know what? He's in a really good place. He's going to play well this week. I truly believe he's going to finish in the top 10. I didn't know he was going to win. But when I saw him on Thursday walk by me as he went to the first tee and he piped his tee shot on Thursday, which he normally doesn't hit a very good tee shot on the first hole. He's usually in the left trees or in the right bunker or right trees. And when he split the right center of the fairway perfect, I'm like, okay, game's on. I've seen enough. And that was really the only shot I witnessed him hit, other than all gathering it up on TV like we all did and witness something very special.
You know, Mark, you mentioning just leaving that Champions Dinner. When you hosted it in 1999, every Champions Dinner is special, but every living Masters champion was present that evening. Jackie Burke Jr., who wasn't somebody who necessarily came every year. I believe Gene Sarazen was in the room that night. That obviously was exceptionally special for you. How about the idea of going into that room in November, considering what this world, this country has already been through and is going to continue to go through in the weeks and months ahead, how reflective you all are going to be? Have you thought about that?
I kind of have. Look, anytime I'm fortunate to drive down Magnolia Lane, Gary, and get close to that iconic clubhouse, I get goosebumps. I mean, even to this day, I really do. And I think this November, hopefully, God willing, that we're there. And, you're right. I mean, to me, to be up in that Champions locker room, it's one of the most exclusive locker rooms you could be a part of, because really, I mean, the members don't, the only people that are in there are guys that have won the Masters tournament. And I'm fortunate to share a locker with Mr. Sarazen. So, like you pointed out, I mean, he was there when I had the dinner in '99 and hosted the dinner. And I mean, it's just, I pinch myself every time I'm in there, because a lot of times I'm like, why am I in here? What happened? But, it did happen, and I'm very thankful that it did.
Mark, last thing, as somebody who was born in the state of North Carolina, Southern California, the state of Florida, the state of Texas, you love the mountains of Utah. You have lived in different parts of this country. And the reason I mention that is that when golf does return, and we watch it on television, but there are millions of people who play the game. Do you think golf has an opportunity, when society establishes its new normal, to maybe have a greater impact on people's ability to find solitude, to be reflective, and then also in watching the game of golf and appreciating it a little bit more? Do you think that exists?
I do. I think we're all going to be a little bit more humbled by this experience. Certainly the aspect of realizing maybe just how fortunate we were as Americans and the freedoms that we enjoy day in and day out, and, our love of sports and things like that. It's amazing. Sometimes when things are taken away from you that you've grown so accustomed to, you realize, you know what? I need those back in my life. And we certainly need the game of golf back in everyone's life, as of all sports. And I think that when we get to the first tournament, as you pointed out, that comes back and plays, the players are going to be excited, the fans will be excited, and hopefully TV and everybody can rest their mind just a little bit and realize, you know what, we've got to get back to this great life of living that we need to do.
Well, Mark, we're hopeful that you will be in that room on that Tuesday night in the month of November. We'll get to see a Masters week then. But for now, be safe, stay well. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Gary, my best to you and your family and all of your listeners and everybody watching. Just be safe. We can ride this thing out, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to come out better on the other end.
That is Marco Meara, the 1998 Masters champion and a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. And a reminder on this Saturday, the 1986 Masters, one of the greatest Masters ever played. You will get to re-enjoy that and see it again. All the highlights right here at 1:30 Eastern Time. Then Nick Faldo, how about 1990 going back-to-back? He won in 89, won again in 1990. Those highlights as well, plus best lessons ever from Masters champions as we celebrate the Masters, 6 Eastern, and then live from the Masters from the 2019 Masters at 7 p.m. Eastern as well.